So, what's up, everybody? I want to just talk briefly about this upcoming game versus the Cincinnati Bengals and some of the things that I've been observing as far as talk shows and on the Bleacher Report Steelers community about what exactly is going on with the Steelers and the recent 3-game losing streak that we've had, and whether or not we can perform well. We've already punched our ticket into the playoffs, but we're still playing for a higher seed. We still have an opportunity to win the division. We still have an opportunity to go in as the number 3 seed. We can drop as far as, I believe it's the 6th seed is what I've been hearing, maybe the 5th, which would, if we dropped into the 5th seed, then we will have to face the Ravens in the playoffs again. And if we drop into the 3rd seed, then that means that we would face the Ravens. I believe both of those scenarios, there is a scenario where we go to the Ravens. We go to visit Houston. I think that if we go visit Houston, we will travel to Houston to face them. But if we play the Ravens, I think that the Ravens would come to us depending upon the seeding. So I think I got my seedings mixed up. But one thing that I have to, there's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of people that say that now we should play Justin Fields again. And that, the mistakes that Russ has been making, no longer makes him qualified to be our best option at quarterback. Me in particular, I see a lot of different things. One thing that we can all agree on is that Justin Fields provides and he provides the escapability out of the pocket when the offensive line breaks down. What I've been noticing that a lot of the blame goes towards the tackles for the breakdown in blocking. But as far as I'm concerned, I see it coming up the middle. Seamalu and McCormick, at times they're allowing pressure from the guard position in the middle. Even Frazier at times is giving up pressure. It's too inconsistent. The cohesiveness needed on the offensive line is not consistent enough to give a quarterback like Wilson enough time to find the open man that he needs. And so sometimes of late, because of the pressure, he's forcing the issue, or he gets fixated on a particular, receiver, and he's throwing the ball anyway, or he holds it and takes the sack. I think a lot of times too, if he sees the anticipation of the rush or the line breaking down, he should immediately go to his check down. But to me, he's either holding on the ball too long or throwing the ball too soon. And so, I'm in a disagreement. First of all, Russell's a better passer than Justin Fields. He has more touch on the ball as far as deep balls or the moon balls. But overall, he delivers a better ball than Justin Fields right now. Another thing is that Justin Fields, when he was, and we can all debate whether or not the offensive coordinator or Mike Tomlin told him specifically, don't turn the ball over, which allowed him to be not pull the trigger as much or be reluctant to throw the ball. But I don't think that I don't think that a lot of fans are taking into consideration, and if you go back and watch the games, as I do, you'll see a lot of times that the reason why Justin Fields doesn't have a high turnover ratio, he's not throwing as many interceptions, is first of all, there's too many times where there's been open receivers and he just won't throw the ball, especially over the middle. There's also been times where players like Pickens or Calvin Austin have had defenders beat or one-on-one situations, and he didn't give those receivers an opportunity to make a play on the ball, especially a receiver like Pickens, who is an excellent 50-50 ball receiver. And so, you know, he doesn't give his playmakers opportunities to make plays. And so I don't really think that we know exactly what we have in playmakers outside of Pickens and Freiermuth, because not only do the quarterbacks not give them the chances that they should, and this includes Russ. Now, I believe that Russ is giving those particular players, those playmakers, those weapons, more opportunities to make plays than Justin Fields does, because he's willing to throw the ball. But I also don't think that our offensive coordinator is utilizing his weapons the way he should. For instance, Darnell Washington is 6'8". Just to assist the running game and to move the chains on first and second down when we need 5, 6, 7 yards. The man is 6'8". He can basically run 5 or 6 yards down the field and post up and throw the ball to him. And most defenders are not tall enough to contest it. And when you've got, if Pickens is out there and Freiermuth is out there and Calvin Austin's out there, they can run routes and he can slide into the flat or he can slide it to the middle and you can throw him a quick pass more than once or twice a game. The pass out to the flat, where they usually run to the right side of the formation, and he makes an out route to the right side of formation. They run that once a game, usually at the beginning of the game, and a couple of times it's worked for a 10, 14-yard game, and then you never see that pass again. Or he gets maybe one more target a game. More screen plays where Jaylen Warren gets the ball in the open field a lot more. And though they have been running it a lot more lately and it's been gaining yardage, but use it as a part of your early 15 scripted plays so that we don't enter in the game or enter any game with a series of 3 straight 3-and-outs. You know, a lot of times if you're watching the all 22, or a lot of times even just the regular televised replays, you'll see where the receivers are running directly towards the defenders and turning around like a hook, or just trying to run past them. Come on, man. Like, doesn't it make more sense to have more crossing routes and slant patterns to try to get the receivers some type of separation from the defenders? Like, why are we running right into them with an offensive line that can't pass block consistently, and they allow pressure on the quarterback, and then that's forcing our quarterback to have to make these quick decisions with no type of anticipation, no type of separation from the defenders. So a lot of these things I question. So I think that if we go into the next game and we make some adjustments, we still can be successful against some of the mid-tier teams that we may face in the wild card round of the playoffs. Another thing that I don't understand. Another thing that I don't understand. First of all, the defense is usually playing well during the first half. Even against Kansas City, they only gave up 13 points. I mean, just think about the scenario we would have been in if Wilson didn't throw the interception. Or on a couple of times when we have 3rd and 3 and they run passes behind the line of scrimmage or try to run a handoff play when you only need 3 plays. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 capable tight ends, and you have 2 wide receivers that can make plays. And I don't know what to say about Van Jefferson and I don't even know the other receiver's name. Van Jefferson, and they have Skronjic, the guy that we picked up off the waiver wire. We have decent weapons. We have enough weapons to attack a defense. Najee Harris caught over 70 passes in his rookie year, and over the last couple of years they forgot how to use him as a passing weapon. So a lot of this I don't understand. I understand we've had some significant injuries, but coming into games, going 3-4 possessions straight, 3 and out, 4 plays and out. After a while, especially during late in the season, that tires our defense out. It tires our defense out. Another thing is I understand TJ Watt draws so much attention that the other players, Alex Highsmith, Nate, I'm sorry, I'm old. I'm drawing a blank, but Nate Herbig and even Smith are trade line deadline acquisition. I understand that it allows them to get one-on-one situations, and it allows them to they can beat those mans consistently. But when you have a game wrecker on your team like TJ Watt, one of the reasons why Myles Garrett wrecked our offensive line during that first game against Cleveland is because they move him around the defensive line. So I understand that Alex Highsmith and Nate Herbig and Cam Hayward and other players, such as maybe if you blitz Patrick, if you blitz Patrick and have him come up the middle, or if you're blitzing number 50 and have him come up the middle, because if you're relying on Larry Ogunjobi to create pressure or get sacks, you're not going to get that out of him. He's more of a run stuffer, and he doesn't show up on most plays either. So why would you have a game wrecker on your team and allow a team to completely take him out of the game? That's something I don't understand as a defensive coordinator, how you can allow that. Like they did it for 6 or 7 straight games where not only are they chipping him with 2 guys, but sometimes they're chipping him with 3 guys. Why would you allow them to continue to focus on him? You don't do that on offense with your best wide receiver. You put him in motion. You line him up on the slot. You run slants. You do various different things. Sometimes they've even had George Pickens, just to touch the ball, take pitches and end arounds. So why are we doing that with TJ Watt? Why are we allowing, on a defense that's the highest pass defense in the league, with all pro defensive players on 3 levels of the defense, why are we allowing an offense to come into a game knowing they can take one of the most dominant game wreckers in NFL history, a man that has had 3+, 19+ sack seasons? This season, he's only having 11 sacks. How many interceptions that he has? He has a fumble return for a touchdown. He has 5 or 6 fumbles this season. And when they started triple teaming him, you're just going to allow them to do that. He can't move around the formation. They can't run stunts and twists. Why? Because you think you're so dominant? And that's another thing that I don't understand, all this hype about Pittsburgh defense, because last year, I watched them give up drives. And granted, they were tired, but they gave up drives that took the game away from us or put us in a position where they had to make some miraculous game-saving play in order to win the game. So yes, they are a good defense. Yes, they can be dominant at times depending upon who they're playing, but they're not so dominant, whereas you don't want to put TJ Watt in advantageous positions in order to allow him to continue to be the game record that he is. So with this Cincinnati game, we know that going into the Cincinnati game, we have gotten a lot healthier. However, we're not going to have Dante Jackson. We're not going to have. I think we're getting Joey Porter back. We're all healthy on offense. Hopefully, the 11 days, 10 days between games will allow TJ to recuperate from the ailing foot issue that he has, and I think he has. He hurt his hand, and so I think that we can get healthier on that front, but not to move him around. That pride that you have, being as though like Mike Tomlin has developed a reputation as being a defensive coach, even though originally he was an offensive coach since he played wide receiver in college. But as a defensive-minded coach, I just don't understand why him or Terrell Austin would allow TJ Watt to be tripled and double teamed for 4 or 5 games straight. You know, and the one game that they did do it, you just do it enough. Like, give him some time to adjust to moving around, because he hasn't moved around a lot in his career since he switched from the right side to the left side. But you're just allowing people to key on him. Now, you know, at a point in time, one of my arguments that why TJ Watt was a better pass rusher than Myles Garrett was because Myles Garrett got moved around. And he continues to get moved around the defensive line, which that no one player can key on him. And TJ Watt was putting up better numbers, continuously puts up better numbers than Myles Garrett. He makes more plays. He can drop in pass coverage. He intercepts. Myles Garrett doesn't affect the game like that. Now, he's a dominant pass rusher and a heck of a run stopper. But TJ Watt plays a complete game as an outside linebacker, not as an edge, just an edge, as a backer. He drops into coverage. He scores touchdowns off interceptions. He forces fumbles consistently. He plays the run game excellent. So anybody that says that TJ Watt or Myles Garrett is a better player than TJ Watt overall, you know, that goes into the like the similar argument between Michael Jordan and LeBron James, where they're both great offensive players, but Jordan played both ways at the highest of levels. TJ Watt plays a full game at the highest level. You know, people tend to forget that he was a tight end early in his college career, just like his brother. So in order to play those positions, you got to have some type of offensive skill set and ability to understand offensive players. And that skill set translates into some of the things that he's doing, especially dropping the coverage, the lateral movement, shuffling of the feet, reading the quarterback's eyes, you know, things of that nature, understanding, you know, route trees and route stances and things of that nature. So I just don't understand why. They don't move him around when they see that he's being completely taken out of games. You don't allow an X factor of that magnitude to be eliminated from the game. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, going into this game against Cincinnati, we could beat this team because If we play the same type of game that we played before, where we incorporate a short passing game, we take some shots down the field now that Pickens is back. We're not worried about their pass rush. But in a sense, when they do generate pressure, Russell Wilson has to be willing to get the ball out of his hands. No more kamikaze, commando, diving for touchdowns when you don't need it, fumbles, slide if you got to get out. If you get out of the pocket to make a play running the ball, slide. You know, if you got 3rd and 2 and you're driving down the field, the most important thing that you want to do against a team like the Cincinnati Bengals is keep the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. So why are you throwing deep balls to wide receivers that are not wide open when you only need 2 yards to continue the drive? Like he did against, was that Kansas City? I think he threw a deep ball to Calvin Austin. And Austin wasn't open. He had the man beat by a little, but first of all, he's like 5'8". He had the man beat by a step. If that's George Pickens, you give him an opportunity to ball. That's Calvin Austin. He can't jump over the man. He weighs what, $160, 70, and 80. He's not going to outmuscle the man or be extremely physical with him. So unless he's blowing past the guy and he's wide open, why are you throwing that ball when you can dump it off and continue to drive? You're getting greedy. Take what they give you, continue to drive, keep Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown off the field and work that defense and keep that defense working and keep them tired. And we can win that game going away because our offense is better than their defense when playing well. And our defense can make enough plays like they did to win that game. And you know, before, think about it, if Russell Wilson doesn't throw that pass to George Pickens, or if the officials make the call, which was clearly a pass interference, you can't just grab somebody by the back of their helmet and throw them to the ball, but obviously they got away with that. That game might not have even been as close as it was before. I mean, because quiet as kept, going into the 4th quarter or midway through the 4th quarter, we were up by 2 scores. We had came back and manhandled them. We were up by 2 scores, and because we went into some sort of prevent defense, they just drove you don't like give a team like the Bengals with all those weapons and that all-world quarterback time to throw the ball. He's going to pick you apart, drive right down the field, and they're going to make a game of it. So we can win this game regardless of where it's at. At some point in time, it'll become evident as long as we're doing the things that we need to do, running the ball efficiently. And I've graduated to the point where I believe that Jaylen Warren should get the majority of the touches because I like Najee Harris. I'm not really concerned about his speed. But what I don't like about him is, first of all, I don't like the fact that Arthur Smith continues to call these pitch plays to a guy who can't hit the edge fast like Warren. Those plays should be specific for Warren. Second of all, a lot of times, for some reason, Najee, when he gets to the line of scrimmage, I mean, he's having to dodge 2 or 3 linemen before he gets to the line of scrimmage. And I think that a lot of times he could just gain a yard or 2 because instead of dancing, just put your head down and run somebody over. Because usually if somebody is in your backfield as you're getting the handoff, wherever you dance to or make a lateral movement to, there's going to be somebody else there too. Too much of that. And I'm not there to say, well, he shouldn't be dancing. Obviously, he can do it because he made various amount of plays using that particular skill set. Just because he's a big man doesn't mean that he doesn't have a lateral game of finesse. And I disagree with anyone who says that Najee Harris is not a physical back. You're not watching the games. You can't be possibly watching the games when he's dragging defenders down the field and sticking his hand in it. Just because you see a little finesse doesn't mean that the man is not physical. So, yeah, I disagree with that. But anyway, in conclusion, I just wanted to speak my piece based on the games, based on what I'm seeing, based on a lot of things that I'm reading. I used to be totally opposed to the firing of Mike Tomlin, and I'm not really saying that I want Mike Tomlin fired, but I've never really been like a huge Mike Tomlin fan, but I do respect him and his approach to the game, and you cannot deny what the players that play for him say. I wasn't really happy with the Arthur Smith hiring. If it is true that the defenses that Mike Tomlin is running, every defensive coordinator that has been there since Dick LeBeau, that they're running Mike Tomlin's defense, I don't know, you can't argue with the defense, but that defense tends to give up a lot of yards. For people that call that defense a dominant defense, it's a bend but don't break defense. If our defensive line is not generating pass rush and more specifically sacks, because against KC, Patrick Mahomes was under a lot of pressure, but they couldn't bring him down. As a matter of fact, they couldn't alter his passing lanes to get his hands and his vision. And you got situations like Patrick Henry, it's not Patrick Henry, is it? Patrick, number 6 from the Ravens, that's with us now. Ball batted up in the air. I don't know if he's got like a hole in his hands or something, but for him not to be able to come down with that ball, for us to produce 2 or 3 turnovers against Philadelphia and not recover the ball, those are things that are just not like us. So I dismiss those as abnormal, things that don't regularly happen to us. Just even against the Ravens, the pick with Minkah Fitzpatrick. A lot of things that I like against the Cleveland game, I was angry at Tomlin for some of the decisions that he made on 4th down consecutively that just didn't allow us to be in a favorable position considering how the game was going. I don't like when he calls timeouts. I don't like that. I don't know. There's things that I don't like. I don't like his clock management. I don't like that. But, I'm not going to necessarily say something ignorant like, well, because the announcers, they say things like, well, if you fire Mike Tomlin, there are 31 other teams in the NFL that will hire him immediately. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think that's true. Kansas City, San Francisco, Philadelphia are not going to hire him. Why would they need him? They all got more Super Bowl appearances that he's had in the last 14 years. The Rams probably won't hire him. They won't hire him. The Rams were not supposed to be a good team this year, and they're in the playoffs. The Chargers are not going to hire him. They just hired Jim Harbaugh, and he has them back in the playoffs. The Bills are not going to hire him. The Ravens are not going to hire him. And then, how many teams have up-and-coming offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators that bring in new, innovative ideas instead of trying to play 1960s football with these horrible route trees, because the route trees are not that much better to me than what Matt Canada was running. I think the difference between Matt Canada and Arthur Smith is the play calling. Because I still am not totally on board with his situational play calling, but Matt Canada's play calling was horrible. It's almost like he didn't understand the game at all. He's used to playing Pitt versus UNLV or Akron University. Like, your play calling is suspect. And Arthur Smith, he has higher level play calling, and he had great success with Tennessee. But, some of these situations that we're in and he's making these play calls, you think to yourself, who are you fooling? Like, we are, as fans, can sit here and see that you need 3 yards. And you think that Cordarrelle Patterson is going to sneak through the middle of the defense and pick up those 3 yards. The offense, especially with the offense not being as successful as they have, and every time you come out, you run the ball on first down. Like, some of this stuff just, it doesn't make sense to me. But hey, look, just wanted to give my opinion. I'll be back again after the game on Sunday to give my analysis of the game and what I see. And thank you all for watching, and have a great day. Go Steelers.